Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. You remember that song, I assume, from the fall, Blood on My Hands, by my friend John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting. John has released a new video edition of Blood on My Hands, the White House edition, which is available at YouTube. I'm going to play that for those of you who are watching on the Salem News Channel in the next segment. But first, I want to welcome back John Ondrasik. Hello, John. How are you?
Happy New Year, Hugh.
Happy New Year to you. I've got to compliment you on this video. It's arresting. I don't know how long it took to produce this or how you got the rights cleared or anything like that. Well, you own the song. That helps. How long did it take to put this together?
It actually took 2 months, much longer than I expected. I was lucky to engage and work with some professional documentarians who have a lot of experience doing this, but it was tough, weeding through images. And I was on an atrocity signal chain, and every day these atrocities would come in, and it just be tough to watch. But also, as you noticed, I was able to interview Vice President Sala. That took 2 or 3 weeks to put together. So it was much longer and kind of depressing than I thought. And frankly, when I finished it, my first thought was, I'm glad I never have to watch this again.
Well, we're gonna play it in the next segment for everyone watching on the Salem News Channel or live on my feed at Hugh Hewitt. I must say the editing is great. Who did the editing for you, and not the music? I mean the upcuts from the various news feeds that people will hear as we remember the people who are still, by the way, lost in Afghanistan and trapped there. This is an electric recollection of what happened in the fall.
Well, it was important for me to tell the story and to tell it honestly, not gratuitously. And so between me and the editor and our documentarian, we gathered hundreds of clips, hundreds of images, and we kind of just spent hours sorting through them and, putting together a prologue of news clips that basically, at least from our perspective, told the story of the withdrawal. And yeah, I thought the guys did a great job putting it together. You don't want to put too much information in there, so we tried to be careful about making sure we weren't dragging it on. But yeah, there were some very powerful clips, especially with the ones at the end of the prologue with our veterans pleading to get their Afghan allies out. Every time I see that woman at the end of the prologue pleading for her allies, it just makes me tear up.
Yeah, John, it does. It's very powerful. People will hear it after the break. I got to ask you, though, Joni Ernst was on, Senator Ernst, earlier this week talking about the War on Terror Memorial, and we talked about your work and Five for Fighting's work on the people still stranded there. What is the level of interest and commitment versus what we had in August and September? Has it diminished 50%, 10%? What do you think?
I think it depends on who you're talking to. Certainly with the organizations doing the evacs, they're exhausted, they're running out of money, but their will is strong. Thank God we have those warriors on our side. They are not going to give up. I also think within Congress, there are folks like Senator Ernst and Mike Waltz, and folks on the other side too, Senator Blumenthal. You notice that the Senate, every female senator, Democrat and Republican, wrote a letter to the president demanding that he pay attention to the women's rights crisis. And Hugh, I think we've talked about this before. Afghanistan is not going away. It's going to come back in many forms. So even though I think the media is trying to still push it under the rug, hopefully this video will remind people of realities we still face. And there are folks like you who will not let it go. Thank God for you.
Well, we're not going to let it go because I do believe every time I see a little girl in Afghanistan, my heart aches for her. And mostly because I met with the ambassador from Afghanistan to the United States after the United States had withdrawn all aid to her. And she was despondent. And a bunch of us told her, don't be despondent. I don't think American women especially, but Americans generally are going to let it go, John. And so when you play the song, and you've been out on tour, so let's finish the first segment this way. What's the reaction to the song when you play it on tour?
Well, probably without that reaction, I would not have made this video. When I play the song live, veterans come up to me, and many of them can't speak. They are so emotional. They're still ashamed. We've talked about the suicide hotline rates, and they're grateful that there is a voice speaking their pain. And frankly, since this video came out literally 48 hours ago, I've gotten dozens of texts from veterans at evac orgs, basically kind of pumped up, feeling that they're not alone in this. So
Well, they're not.
that gives me some gratitude.
They're not. The video is available over at YouTube called Blood on My Hands, White House version, because John sings the song at the back gate of the White House. We'll play it for you after the break. Don't go anywhere, America. We'll be right back.
Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
It took the Taliban just 1 week to regain control of Afghanistan.
Disaster unfolding very quickly.
This is really an American catastrophe.
Secretary of State Blinken declaring this is manifestly not Saigon.
Afghans who helped the West now fearing for their lives.
10,000 civilians, SIV applicants.
Millions more are left behind.
And then this, an act of utter despair. Several fell from the sky.
Afghan mothers passing their children to American soldiers over an airport wall.
It is insane. There are people holding their American passports.
I can't believe the world abandoned Afghanistan. Our friends are going to get killed. They're going to kill us.
The Taliban now has a list of people who are working for the Americans. This effectively can be turned into a kill list.
It's a suicide attack.
120 people have been injured. 13 U.S. troops are also among the casualties.
We will respond with force and precision at our time, at the place we choose, in the moment of our choosing.
7 innocent children and 3 innocent adults dead.
They assessed what the US had left behind. Taliban forces parading captured American weapons.
Americans also forgot to destroy biometric devices.
Extraordinary success is total failure by the United States government.
These Afghan allies who desperately need our evacuation.
This is a betrayal of the American military.
By doing everything in my power right now to get people out.
For those who are made, we're going to make arrangements to get them out.
Please, I want you to help me, my family.
Any Afghans may leave the country, including those who work for Americans, if they want and for whatever reason.
This comes down to an issue of will and leadership.
Do you have any regrets about the Afghan withdrawal?
Asking what's happening.
You once said, America is the light of the world. How do you feel about America now?
America not only has lied to the Afghan people, it's lying to itself. I mean, the betrayal is not the collapse of a system only. The betrayal is about fate of millions of people. I mean, who is going to take the words of this administration and probably the future administration seriously? Who?
Do you have any words for President Biden or former presidents who have all led us to where we are now?
I tell them to ask their children, grandchildren, I ask them their neighbors to write them a piece of one-page history of America and as far as Afghanistan is concerned. That
John Ondrasik, welcome back. I want people to go to YouTube and watch the whole thing. The videos are amazing. I also want to mention Max Soviak by name. He's a Cleveland native, the Navy corpsman who was killed in the bombing at the gate. And I thought Cleveland.com did a great thing at the end of the year when they said the story of the year was the death of Max Soviak. I'm not sure the rest of the American media paid much attention at the end of 2021, the beginning of 2022, to the most important event of last year. Did you see it anywhere else, John?
I saw a few, kind of in the year in reviews, a few pictures of some of the, handing babies over walls. But I agree with you. I think we're so obsessed with the vaccine and the border and other issues that folks have missed the probably most consequential story for the future.
Today we're obsessed on January 6th. Today we're just doing January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. And that was a horrible day. And it was a day of riot and murderous intent on the part of a small group of people. But even as we speak, those pictures of beatings in your video, that you can't unsee them, and they're going on right now in the middle of a famine to boot.
I've been embedded since we spoke last with Project Exodus Relief and Pineapple and Argo, and every day you hear stories of people being found in safe houses and murdered, and it's just I don't even want to talk about it here because it's just so depressing. And yes, it's happening as we speak, but the humanitarian crisis is probably going to dwarf even the Taliban atrocities with the starvation that's occurring. It is a great disgrace for the world, but we know that. That's why one reason I made this video.
Well, John, after months now of being deeply involved in the relief efforts, who do you recommend people support if they want to support, especially the women and girls and the SIVs, our former allies who we abandoned? Who do you think, you mentioned Argus, and how do people help? What do they do?
Well, the simple thing is at the end of my video, I have a link to my whatkindaworlddouyowant.com charity website. It all goes through the California Community Foundation, and I'm distributing whatever funds we get to organizations like Exodus and Argo, Afghan Evac, also Gary Sinise Foundation for our veterans who are suffering, and Afghan charities that are helping the refugees. So that's an easy one-stop place. But of course, you can just Google NGOs Afghanistan and dozens pop up, and every one of them is desperate for money right now.
I would head to Five for Fighting and get to that, or go to the end of the video. Now, John, what is with the Chinese airplane at the end of the video? There's a little blip there that people may have to watch it twice to see, right before the interview with the former Afghan vice president.
Yeah, good eyes there. I think as much as we should be morally focused on the tragedy of Afghanistan and the Afghan people, I think geopolitically there is a much greater risk for our nation. I'm asking myself every day, who are we? Are we Normandy? Are we the Berlin Wall? Or are we the country that leaves our allies and citizens to terrorists? And of course, Putin, Xi, Iran see this too. And I think you've talked a lot about the Ukraine. I think we're going to see Putin move I think you'll probably see China move on Taiwan, because if any country that would abandon their allies and citizens to the Taliban, I don't think there's going to be any pushback to what our adversaries may do. So probably the most scary part of the video is one nobody sees, and it's those Chinese planes flying over Taiwan.
That's well said. Last question, John Ondrasik, and thank you for your time. Thank you for putting this in and continuing to work on this. It's a technical, actually, a production question. It's beautifully shot at the back on the southern ellipse. Did anyone bother you when you were singing? And how difficult is that to do with ambient noise, etc.? I mean, it's very well done. I just couldn't believe how well it was done.
Well, it's funny. We actually, the day after we saw you and many of your friends at the Birchmere, we went down to the White House to shoot it in the afternoon. And we rolled up around 3 o'clock. And ironically, they decided to close the park. And so I got about 2 lines out and we had to leave. And the next day we were driving to New Hampshire. So my sound man and my cello player, who were awesome, got up very early. We went down to the White House. There was virtually nobody there. And we shot it and I sang it. And as sad as I was to have to sing that song, I also felt very grateful. I lived in a country where I could sing that song in front of the seat of power. I appreciated America that day, as sad as it was to sing that song.
Not only sing it, not only not get arrested or shot, but post it on YouTube for the world to see and remember and watch it again and again and again. My hat is off to you and to your team, because it's you wouldn't know that had not been staged by the White House except for its content. I also love the fact that you got into one tiny video, the moment with Secretary Austin and Brett Baer, the moment with Secretary Blinken, the moment with General Milley, the moment of the president's dismissiveness. It's beautifully done, John Ondrasik. My hat is off to you. YouTube, blood on my hands. Always good to talk to John, and I hope people remain committed to remembering the people at this moment are starving and cold and going to black in illiteracy, in burqas, because of what Joe Biden and Team Biden allowed to happen.